So just wanted to give you guys a little update on our DIY solar system here at the house. So here is the battery cabinet and the three 100 amp hour batteries. I'm not real happy with the way that the battery cables turned out. I made these. They're way oversized for this application. They are fused for each inverter. However, again, I'm not thrilled with the way that this kind of laid out right here. So I'll probably redo the battery cables in the future. And then here are the two inverters. So we started with just this one right here, which we're calling inverter 2. And these have 6,000 watts of split phase output and 10,000 watts on AC bypass. But they can be run in parallel, up to 16 of these units actually. So with two of them, we've got 12,000 watts of power from the solar array or the battery system. If these switch over to the AC bypass, they can actually output 10,000 watts each. So you're talking 20,000 watts. You're not going to use more than that. Eventually, we may end up with a third inverter. I'm not sure what our peak power usage is yet, because I have not added the sub panel from the addition part of the house to this system yet. We're going to do that this upcoming week. But so far, everything's been working great. Like I said, I just got this second inverter installed and wired up today. Pretty simple to do. These are running in split phase parallel with each other, both communicating with the batteries. And then over here, what we've got, this is the combiner box. So this is where each inverter sends power, and then this is where power goes out. We'll add another 100 amp breaker, and that will feed the sub panel in the addition portion of the house. J-box 1 is where grid power comes from. So that's this breaker here in the middle. And again, that's for AC bypass if there's not enough solar or battery to run the system. You can see here, we're kind of using a little bit of power. And you can see the status of the batteries, status of the system, how much power the inverter's running, if we're pulling any power out from the grid, all that good stuff. There's also a really cool monitoring application for these. These are on Wi-Fi, so I can monitor them anywhere from my phone. I still need to go through, like I said, not thrilled with the way the battery cable's laid out. I'll go through and clean that up. The flex conduit, I've got a bunch of D-rings and tap cons. We'll attach all of that to the wall. And then I have a whole bunch of excess PV wiring from the solar panels. There's my disconnect switch sitting on top of the bucket for the DC side of the array. Eventually, we're going to have probably 12,000 kilowatts of solar on our array. It'll be 400 watt panels on the roof. Right now we have a really small array for kind of our test project, how we got started. It's only 2.4 kilowatts, but learned a lot so far in the week of running this, and that's why I added the second inverter and the third battery. Eventually I will fill this rack with 6 batteries, and then we'll kind of go from there and decide if we need to get a second rack and some more batteries or not. 6 100 amp hour lithium batteries should provide about 30 kilowatt hours of power, which is what the average American household uses. But if we're not bringing in any solar for some reason, we can also run these on a generator to charge up the batteries, so we're in pretty good shape there. And I think once we expand our solar array out, even on a cloudy day, I'm able to collect around 2, maybe 3 kilowatts of kilowatt hours worth of power just from our small 6-panel array right now. That being said, with these PV wires, I haven't trimmed them yet because I'm trying to figure out, okay, if eventually I do a third inverter, it's going to go on this wall, then I'll have to move the battery bank, redo the battery cables, all that good stuff, and where would I want to mount all 4 disconnects for 4 strings of 3,000 watts each from a solar array. Anyways, so far the system's been really cool. It was fairly easy to set up. I like the way that we decided to do it, where we have a generator interlock on both sub panels, because It allows me to switch back over to grid power and not use these at all very, very easily. It protects the power company from me backfeeding to them at all. And it also allows these guys, these inverters, to switch to AC bypass and power the house anyway. So it's kind of a win-win doing it that way. I didn't have to do a separate sub panel with priority circuits for solar and run those throughout the house and stuff. I just used the existing wiring that was in the house. So pretty cool so far. I'll update you guys next week, probably the end of next week, after I have the second sub panel on this and running, and we can kind of monitor how much power we're actually using in this house. So this is the main sub panel that we replaced. This feeds the older section of the house, and here's the generator interlock. So before this disconnect, there are Polaris taps that feed into this smaller panel, and these two breakers feed the two inverters that are downstairs. And there is a disconnect before this. There's a knife switch that's fused with some 200 amp fuses. So that's how that works. You just have, this is the incoming power from the combiner box downstairs, and we have another sub panel in the hallway for the addition part of the house, and we're going to set that up on Monday, replace that panel, add the generator interlock and the feed from the combiner box downstairs, and that will allow us to power the entire house with our solar power system.